Hey everybody, this is Erik Brown bringing you the best of Los Angeles, as always, where we share the best and brightest that the city of LA and Beverly Hills has to offer. Now I've got a special treat today. A friend of mine, Bonnie Davis of A Home That Cares, is going to share a bit about her business. And as you know that I like to do, local businesses here for local residents. So Bonnie, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Erik. I appreciate that. A Home That Cares is a business that I started about 6 years ago, but I was doing the work about 10 years before that. My work is unique. I work with families to figure out appropriate residential settings for people who can no longer live at home safely. So I am assessing families by finding out the care needs, the budget, the geographical location, and most importantly, who the person is that they're going to bring forward into this next step of their life. My work is free to families. I am paid by all of the properties that are licensed as assisted living in LA County. Everyone knows me, which gives you a leg up because frankly, moving into a residence is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make, and you need to be business savvy as well as medically savvy and understanding your financial rights and things you can apply for. There are just so many things involved. So I like to think of it as being a consumer advocate as well, because I started in this because of moving my mother. I know that sounds cliche, but that's what happened, and I don't like not knowing the turf I'm on. And I thought, how do people do this? This is kind of complicated. And so I went to work for the largest company in the nation, became #1 in the nation doing everything they didn't want me to do, literally, and then started my own company the way I felt it should be handled.
And this may be what's so interesting is a lot of times with what I do, it is centered around someone's life event. There's a death, there's a birth, there's a divorce, there's a marriage, they're winning the lottery, moving out of state. And what I know in a limited fashion about the demographics of our country is there's 75 million baby boomers. And so have got a segment of our population that's just aging. And so you must be, as I see you nod, you must be seeing this huge shift in your world of need, just a general need for this type of service. So can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing and like what we're trending towards and what next year looks like?
Well, cover of the New York Times this Sunday was about the number of people living alone as they are aging. With dementia, 1 in 2 people become cognitively impaired, and guess what? The other one usually becomes the caregiver. So nobody is out of this without being affected. And so the demographics are such that I deal with a huge diversity. I mean, we live in LA. I deal with celebrities, and I deal with people who financially are very thrown by this. So I like to give out resources to help anyone and see what they could qualify for and become savvy consumers of what's out there, because people do not understand what assisted living is. They don't understand what a nursing home is. They don't understand the differences. They don't understand what independent living is. So there's a lot of education. In fact, I consider my job education. That's what I do.
My guess is there's like some type of thing that happens. Someone has a recognition of, oh, I or we as a family are unable to really provide in a way for the type of care that we think is helpful. And so there's probably a series of things that people don't think of beyond just the immediate we have need. Is there steps that you recommend or that are often best for someone to consider or think of, or that they walk through with you that can be most helpful?
Well, I will say the devil's in the details, and my first conversation with people is trying to ferret out exactly what part of this elephant they need to focus on, because I get everything from calls from hospitals on situations that need discharges to people doing long-term planning. So it's hard to give a guideline good for everyone. Usually there's a precipitating event. It could be a referral from a doctor. It could be a person feeling because of a death or because their children are far away and the holidays are upon us, that all of a sudden they realize their friends are dying and they're socially isolated. So it's hard to give a guidebook, but I can tell you that, like I said before, I walk through basic things that everybody should be considering. Their health, their finances, where their support system is, where their doctors are, and who they want to be with. Who is their community? Because it is a lease on life a lot of times to be in community when it has been getting harder to drive or harder to access community, which we all experienced in COVID.
Well, and in my limited experience in working with a clientele where there's an aging member, it, as you had said, it doesn't need to be the end of life. It can be this new lease. And so you may have a fun story or a success story or something that you might want to share with the audience today of what that picture can look like.
Yeah, a million of them. I have probably placed about 1,500 people. So I have a lot of stories, but in terms of what you're talking about, the most surprising thing is when someone has been a social being in the past, that is an antidepressant. And it also keeps them physically fit because they want to be at places. And they want to go to meals because their friends are there and it's gatherings and there are activities throughout the day that they can access. So I do see the step up to people that don't even realize how much isolation and limitation they have started to have as their physical needs go down. I work with people who have no care needs but miss being in community, to people who have high level of care needs or dementia. And with dementia, I mean, there is research-based evidence to show that if you're in a structured environment, can get habits formed to guide you through the day, you are participating. And it's miraculous and extremely gratifying to do the work I do.
You had touched base a little bit before, which I don't think many people would think of, but to have an expert in your corner and have that service, in essence, be free and compensated in another fashion. Are there any other tips or things that you think that someone should know that is going through this experience or may have questions? Is there something that you'd like to share as a kind of a last tip?
Actually, yes, because people are not even aware that people like myself exist, and there's a wide variety from people who are very commission-oriented to people who are really trying to be strategic and solving problems. And I want to say loud and clear, don't go online and give information you will be broadcast over the universe. The way those companies work is they get a commission if they leave your name on every doorstep. The other thing is, interview the person you're working for. See what kind of background they have before you give out any information, like a name, of the person, so that the person can't make a referral and do business without you giving them your explicit permission to work for them, because it is a partnership and it is a team effort, and you have the right to pick who you work with. So because our industry is set up that the communities pay, don't be a fool. Pick the person who you want to work with, and tell anyone that you're interviewing, this is an interview, you are not to send out my information anywhere.
That's a great tip. We'll include all of Bonnie and her company's contact information right after the screen. Bonnie, I wanted to say thanks so much for taking the time and sharing some info with us today. I find it's really helpful, and particularly all of us have a grandparent, a parent, a loved one, a spouse that we may have questions on, and this could be a space where you can go to safely, comfortably, ethically to be able to get those questions answered.
Thank you, Erik. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. As always, folks, thanks for tuning in. We'll provide you with some other great businesses and insights here on the Best of Los Angeles. As always, this is Erik Brown, your local real estate agent, signing off.